The desperate dilemma. Prisha Kapoor stared at the emergency contact form, the blank line mocking her with its emptiness. At 27, she was the youngest architect at Meridian Designs, but somehow filling out a simple form had become the most daunting task of her day. Still stuck on that? Tanya, her colleague, peered over her shoulder. Just put your parents down. That's what everyone does, Prisha sighed. My mother checks my phone every time I visit. If she sees the firm called her because I stayed late again, she'll launch into another lecture about how I'm working myself out of the marriage market. The truth was more complicated. After her father's death 3 years ago, her mother and aunties had become relentless about seeing her settled. Every family gathering turned into an ambush of potential suitors and thinly veiled comments about her biological clock. Just last weekend, her mother had threatened to create a matrimonial profile without her permission. What about a friend? Tanya suggested. And burden them with my workplace emergencies? No thanks. Prisha's eyes drifted to the glass-walled conference room where Vikram Nair, the firm's external engineering consultant, was reviewing blueprints. He joined their project 6 months ago, brilliant and reserved, speaking only when necessary. At 35, he commanded respect without demanding it. A wild idea struck her. Vikram was perfect, professional, detached, and only in the office 2 days a week. He would never know, and the form was just a formality anyway. With a surge of impulsive courage, she wrote Vikram Nair on the line, adding his office extension. The form would be filed away and forgotten. Problem solved. That evening, her mother called as Prisha was leaving work. Betty, wonderful news. Cousin Ravi's wife's brother is visiting next weekend. He's a software engineer in Bangalore. Very well established. Prisha felt the familiar tightness in her chest. Ma, I've told you I'm focusing on the Westridge project right now. The presentation is in 2 weeks. Always work, work, work. At your age, I was already... I know, Ma. You were already married with me on the way. Prisha stepped into the elevator, praying for the call to drop. It didn't. Your aunties are talking, Prisha. They think something's wrong with you. Is it so bad to want my daughter happily married? The elevator doors opened to the parking garage, and Prisha spotted Vikram walking to his car, his silhouette unmistakable even from behind. Actually, Ma, she said, the words tumbling out before she could stop them. I've been seeing someone from work. The silence on the other end was deafening. His name is Vikram, she continued, watching the real Vikram unlock his car. He's an engineer. Very respected. More silence then. You're bringing him to Diwali dinner next week. It wasn't a question. I don't think he can make it. He's very busy and no excuses. If he's important enough for you to mention, he's important enough to meet your family. The call ended and Prisha stood frozen, staring at Vikram's taillights as he drove away. She had just borrowed his name for a moment of peace, never imagining she would need to borrow the actual man to match. Tomorrow, she would have to confess everything to a colleague she barely knew, and somehow convince him to become the boyfriend she had invented. The unexpected alliance morning arrived with the weight of dread sitting heavily on Prisha's shoulders. She'd barely slept, rehearsing various approaches to her impending conversation with Vikram, each scenario ending more disastrously than the last. She arrived at the office an hour early, hoping to intercept him before others filtered in. The universe, it seemed, had other plans. Prisha, a word, please. Mr. Sharma, the firm's director, beckoned her into his office the moment she stepped off the elevator. Inside, she found Vikram already seated, his expression unreadable. Her heart plummeted. There's been a complaint about the Westridge structural modifications, Mr. Sharma explained. The client is concerned about the foundation adjustments. I need you two to visit the site today and sort this out immediately. Prisha nodded mechanically, avoiding Vikram's gaze. A 3-hour drive alone with him, either divine intervention or cosmic punishment. They departed in tense silence, Vikram driving his sleek charcoal sedan while Prisha pretended to review blueprints. 20 minutes in, she couldn't bear it any longer. I need to tell you something, she blurted, about the emergency contact form. Vikram asked quietly, eyes fixed on the road. Prisha froze. You know? HR copied me yesterday. Standard procedure when someone lists you. His voice remained neutral. I assumed you had your reasons. Heat flooded her face. I'm so sorry. I never thought they'd actually contact you. I just needed a buffer against family pressure. He finished, surprising her. I understand more than you might think. For the first time, Prisha truly looked at him. Behind his professional facade, she glimpsed something unexpected. Compassion, perhaps even amusement. "My mother thinks we're dating," she confessed, the words rushing out. "I panicked during a phone call, and your name was the first that came to mind because of the form. And now she's demanding I bring you to Diwali dinner, and I know it's completely inappropriate and unprofessional. And I'll explain everything to HR. I'll go." The simple statement halted her rambling. "What? To dinner?" "I'll go." Vikram changed lanes smoothly. "My grandmother raised me with a saying, sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone is to be who they need you to be, just for a moment." Prisha stared at him, bewildered. "But why would you help me? You barely know me." A small smile touched his lips. "Perhaps that makes it easier. No complications." The site visit passed in a blur of technical discussions and client reassurances. On the drive back, they crafted their story. Dating for 2 months. Keeping it professional at work. Simple details that wouldn't require elaborate lies. "We met during the Riverstone project," Vikram suggested. "First impressions weren't favorable." Prisha laughed. "That's actually true. I thought you were arrogant. And I thought you were impulsive." "Still am, evidently," she replied, gesturing between them. As they parked at the office, Prisha turned to him. "Thank you for this. I promise it's just one dinner. No expectations," he assured her. "Besides, I haven't celebrated Diwali properly in years." The next evening, Prisha paced outside her family home waiting for Vikram. When his car pulled up, her rehearsed greeting died on her lips. Gone was the austere consultant in muted suits. Instead, Vikram wore a navy blue kurta with subtle embroidery, his usual stern expression replaced with gentle warmth. "Too traditional?" he asked, noticing her surprise. "No, it's perfect. You just look different." "Good different or concerning different?" "Good," she admitted. "Very good." As they approached the door, the sounds of laughter and conversation spilled out. Vikram offered his hand, steady, calm. "Ready, Ms. Kapoor?" Their fingers interlaced, and for a moment the charade felt strangely real. "As I'll ever be, Mr. Nair." What began as a desperate solution was about to become the most elaborate pretense of Prisha's life, one that would test not only her ability to maintain a lie, but also her understanding of what truth really meant. Part 3. The Growing Connection. "So Vikram, tell us how you finally convinced our Prisha to date you," Aunt Meena pressed, passing him another helping of gulab jamun. "She's turned down so many nice boys." The Diwali dinner had progressed from awkward introductions to a full-scale interrogation. Prisha's family home glowed with diyas and string lights, creating a warm backdrop for what felt increasingly like a courtroom drama. Vikram set down his dessert plate, his composure unshaken. "Actually, I believe she convinced me." Prisha nearly choked on her chai. "During the Riverstone project," he continued smoothly, "we disagreed about the atrium design. Prisha argued passionately that form and function could coexist without compromise." His eyes met hers across the table. She defended her vision with such conviction that I found myself reconsidering principles I'd held for years. That kind of intellectual courage is rare. The genuine admiration in his voice startled her. This wasn't the script they'd rehearsed in the car. Later, as they helped clear dishes, Prisha's mother cornered them in the kitchen. "You work together? Isn't that complicated?" "We maintain boundaries," Vikram replied, handing Prisha a plate to dry with such natural synchronicity that even she almost believed they'd done this before. Some of history's greatest partnerships began as professional collaborations. When they finally escaped, Prisha leaned against his car, exhausted and relieved. "You were incredible. I think even I believed we were dating." "The best deceptions contain elements of truth," Vikram said quietly. The drive home was different, comfortable silence instead of tense anticipation. At her apartment, he walked her to the door. "Thank you," she said. "I owe you. Consider it professional courtesy." His smile seemed less reserved now. Architects and engineers are supposed to support each other's structures. 2 weeks later, Prisha stood before the Westridge clients presenting their revised designs. Halfway through, technical questions arose that she hadn't anticipated. "If I may," Vikram stepped forward, seamlessly expanding on her points, their presentation flowing as if choreographed. Afterward, the clients approved the changes with enthusiasm. We make a good team, she told him as they packed up. We do, he agreed. Perhaps we should continue the collaboration. That evening, they shared dinner at a small restaurant near the office, a professional celebration that somehow didn't feel entirely professional. Your family believes we're still dating, Vikram mentioned over dessert. My mother texts me daily for updates, Prisha admitted. I've been vague. He considered this, tracing patterns on the tablecloth. Would it be easier if we continued the arrangement? Until the pressure subsides, the proposition hung between them. Practical, logical, and yet something more lingered beneath. You'd do that? She asked. It's not entirely selfless, he confessed. My parents have intensified their matchmaking efforts since I turned 35. Being unavailable has its advantages. And so their pretense extended. Occasional family dinners, professional events where they arrive together, text messages with details about each other's lives to maintain consistency in their stories. In the following weeks, the Westridge project demanded long hours. They often found themselves alone in the office past midnight, takeout containers and coffee cups scattered among blueprints. During one such night, Vikram revealed he'd lost his parents in an accident during his final year of engineering school. My grandmother raised me, but she passed away 5 years ago, he explained. That's why I understand your situation. Family expectations can feel overwhelming when they come from a place of love and worry. Prisha shared her own grief about her father. He always supported my architectural dreams. Since he died, I've felt this pressure to succeed not just for me, but for him. Is that why you stay so late? Vikram asked. I've noticed you're always the first to arrive, last to leave, says the man sitting here at 1 a.m., she countered with a smile. Fair point. Perhaps we're both hiding from something in our work. The observation lingered between them, uncomfortably perceptive. As spring arrived, their professional collaboration deepened. Vikram began consulting on more of Prisha's projects, their design approaches gradually influencing each other. Colleagues noticed their synergy and rumors inevitably followed. They think we're actually dating, Prisha told him during lunch in the courtyard. Technically we are, he replied, just without certain elements, like actual romance, like deceit, he corrected gently. Everything else feels surprisingly authentic. The realization unsettled her. Their arrangement had created something neither had anticipated, a friendship built on understanding and mutual respect that was beginning to blur the lines they'd so carefully drawn. When Mr. Sharma announced that the Westridge project had been nominated for a regional design award, the entire firm celebrated. In the excitement, Vikram hugged Prisha, lifting her slightly off the ground. We did it, he whispered. For a moment, wrapped in his arms, Prisha forgot which parts of their relationship were real and which were pretend, and that, she realized as he set her down, was becoming a dangerous problem. The painful truth. The design award ceremony fell on the anniversary of Prisha's father's death. She hadn't mentioned this to anyone, preferring to focus on the professional triumph rather than her personal loss. Yet as she stood before her closet that evening, the weight of his absence pressed heavily on her shoulders. Her phone chimed with a text from Vikram. Wearing navy. Not that we need to match, but in case you were wondering. The thoughtfulness of this small gesture, anticipating her question before she asked it, brought unexpected tears to her eyes. Over the past 3 months, he had become attuned to her in ways no one else had bothered to notice. Their pretense had evolved into something she couldn't quite name but increasingly relied upon. When he arrived to pick her up, Vikram took one look at her face and knew. It's today, isn't it? Your father, she nodded, surprised. How did you remember? I only mentioned it once. I listen when you speak, Prisha. He offered his arm. We can skip the ceremony if you'd prefer. No, she insisted. He would have wanted me there. He always said achievements should be celebrated, especially on difficult days. The event was held at the Palladian Hotel, all marble columns and crystal chandeliers. Colleagues congratulated them as they entered, their status as a couple now an accepted fact at the firm. Mr. Sharma intercepted them by the champagne fountain, beaming. My star team. The Westridge clients specifically mentioned your collaborative approach in their testimonial. In fact, he lowered his voice conspiratorially. We're considering offering Vikram a permanent position as our structural director. Prisha's eyes widened. That's wonderful. She turned to Vikram. Why didn't you tell me? A shadow crossed his face. Nothing's decided. We can discuss it later. Before she could press further, they were called to their table. Throughout dinner, Prisha noticed Vikram checking his phone repeatedly, his attention divided. When they announced Meridian Designs as the winner for Innovative Residential Concept, the spotlight found their table. Prisha rose to accept the award, but Vikram remained seated, his expression distant. "This doesn't feel right without you," she whispered. He joined her reluctantly. On stage, she delivered their prepared speech while he stood silently beside her, offering none of the technical insights they'd planned to share. Later, as the celebration continued around them, Prisha pulled him onto the balcony. "What's going on? You've been somewhere else all night." Vikram leaned against the railing, moonlight carving shadows across his face. "I received an offer from Chaturvedi Associates this morning. Singapore office. 5-year contract." The words landed like a physical blow. "Singapore? When would you leave?" 3 weeks if I accept." He wouldn't meet her eyes. "It's the opportunity I've been working toward for years." "And the position at Meridian?" "A coincidence of timing," he sighed. "Prisha, we need to discuss what happens when I go." "When, not if," she noted, her voice hollow. "This arrangement between us, it was always temporary. A solution to immediate problems. The clinical assessment stung more than it should have. Of course. We both got what we needed. Your parents stopped matchmaking, my mother backed off. That's not what I meant." Frustration edged his voice. "This has become complicated. Because of the rumors at work?" "We can explain." "Because I'm no longer pretending," he interrupted, finally meeting her gaze. "And I don't think you are either." The truth hung between them, exposed and vulnerable. Prisha felt her carefully constructed walls beginning to crumble. "Vikram, The balcony door swung open as Tanya stumbled outside. "There you are. Prisha, your mother's here. She says it's a surprise to celebrate your award." Prisha froze. "My mother here?" Following Tanya inside, they found Mrs. Kapoor chatting animatedly with Mr. Sharma near the entrance. When she spotted them, she rushed forward, enveloping Prisha in a tight hug. "Congratulations, Betty. I'm so proud of you." She turned to Vikram with equal enthusiasm. "And you must be so proud of your girlfriend. Mr. Sharma was just telling me how you two make such a brilliant professional team." Mr. Sharma nodded. "Indeed. Their relationship has been tremendously beneficial for the firm. We've never had such seamless coordination between architecture and engineering." Mrs. Kapoor beamed. "I knew from the first dinner that you were perfect together. And now working together, succeeding together, this is exactly what I hoped for when I was pushing Prisha to find someone worthy of her talents." "Mrs. Kapoor," Vikram began, "there's something you should know." "Actually," Mr. Sharma interrupted, "I should mention the partners are very impressed with how you've both maintained professionalism despite your personal relationship. It factored into our decision to offer Vikram the director position." Prisha felt the room spinning slightly. Their pretense, started with a desperate lie, had influenced real professional decisions. "So when's the next step?" Mrs. Kapoor asked brightly. "You've been together, 5 months now? Longer than any of Prisha's previous relationships." "Mother, please," Prisha whispered. "I'm just saying, at your ages, you don't waste time when you find the right match." She patted Vikram's arm. "I already think of you as family, Beta." Vikram's expression darkened. Without warning, he stepped back. "Excuse me, I need some air." As he walked away, Mr. Sharma looked confused. "Did I say something wrong? I thought everyone knew about your relationship." The fabrication had spiraled beyond control, affecting careers, family relationships, and professional reputations. Prisha watched Vikram disappear through the exit doors, understanding with painful clarity that their pretend relationship had just collided catastrophically with reality, leaving real damage in its wake. "He's going to Singapore," she said quietly, more to herself than anyone else. "In 3 weeks." Her mother's shocked expression would have been comical in any other circumstance. "Singapore? But what about the position here? What about you?" Prisha had no answer, only the sinking realization that she had borrowed more than just a name. She had borrowed time with someone who had become essential to her life, and now that loan was being called due. The rewritten future. 3 days passed without a word from Vikram. His absence from the office was explained by a terse email from HR. Mr. Nair taking accumulated leave before transfer. No one mentioned Singapore. No one except Prisha's mother, who called hourly with increasingly dramatic theories about why her daughter's perfect match had suddenly disappeared. On the fourth morning, Prisha arrived at her desk to find an envelope with her name written in Vikram's precise handwriting. Inside was a resignation letter, not his, but one he had drafted for her addressed to Mr. Sharma. A template, the accompanying note explained. In case you wish to distance yourself from the situation I've created, Meridian values your talent. Your career shouldn't suffer for our arrangement. The gesture was considerate yet devastating in its finality. Vikram had concluded their story and was offering her a clean ending. Prisha folded the letter carefully and placed it in her drawer, unable to discard it but unwilling to use it. That evening, she found herself standing outside his apartment building, uncertain what she hoped to accomplish but knowing she couldn't leave things as they were. When he opened the door, she was struck by how tired he looked, as if he hadn't slept since the award ceremony. "May I come in?" she asked. His apartment was exactly as she had imagined, minimalist, organized, with architectural books lining built-in shelves. What surprised her were the half-packed boxes scattered throughout. "You've decided then," she said. Vikram closed the door slowly. "Chaturvedi Associates expects my answer tomorrow." "And Meridian's offer?" "I informed Mr. Sharma I'm considering all options." The formal language between them felt wrong after months of growing closeness. Prisha moved to the window, needing distance to maintain her composure. "I came to apologize," she began. "What started as a small lie grew into something that affected your professional choices. That was never my intention. Is that what you think happened?" Vikram joined her at the window. "That you somehow manipulated events?" "Didn't I? My lie about us dating led to rumors at work which influenced the partner's decision to offer you the director position." "Prisha." His voice softened. "The position was discussed months before you ever wrote my name on that form. My work earned that opportunity, not our pretend relationship." She turned to face him, confused. "Then why didn't you tell me about Singapore? Why keep it secret?" "Because I've been wrestling with a decision that should be simple but isn't." He gestured toward a folder on his coffee table. "Singapore has been my goal for years. The Chaturvedi project is innovative, challenging, exactly what I've worked toward." "Then you should accept," she said, though the words felt like glass in her throat. "That's what I've been telling myself." He ran a hand through his hair. A rare display of frustration, but something happened that I didn't anticipate. "What?" "You." The simple word carried unexpected weight. "Working with you changed how I see my work, my future. The boundaries between pretending and reality blurred until I couldn't distinguish which parts were genuine and which were fabricated." Prisha felt her heart racing. "I don't understand." Vikram crossed to the coffee table and retrieved a small notebook. "My grandmother kept this. When she passed away, it was among her possessions." He opened it carefully. She wrote about a young architect she met in Delhi in 1965, a woman who designed the building where she taught mathematics. He handed Prisha the notebook, open to a page with a faded sketch of a modernist building. The signature at the bottom read S. Kapoor. "Sudha Kapoor," Prisha whispered, tracing the signature. "My grandmother." "Yes, our grandparents knew each other. We're friends, perhaps more, according to these entries." He turned several pages, revealing more sketches, notes, pressed flowers. But circumstances separated them. She married someone else, moved to Mumbai. He focused on his career. Prisha looked up, stunned. "Why didn't you tell me this when we first met?" "I didn't know until after the Diwali dinner. When you mentioned your family history and architecture, I remembered my grandmother's stories." He gently took back the notebook. "I requested my family send this to confirm my suspicions. So all this time, I was trying to understand if history was repeating itself or offering a second chance." Vikram's voice wavered slightly. "The night of the award ceremony, when I said I wasn't pretending anymore, I meant it. But then I saw the consequences of our deception, how it affected your mother, Mr. Sharma, our colleagues, and I thought perhaps it was better to end things cleanly." Prisha felt tears threatening. "By running away to Singapore? By removing myself from an equation that began with false premises." He closed the distance between them. But I realized something while packing these boxes. The beginning of a story doesn't dictate its ending. What matters is the truth we choose now. And what truth is that? She asked, barely breathing. That I'm in love with you, Prisha Kapoor. Not the pretend girlfriend or the professional colleague, but the woman who borrows names in moments of panic and defends her designs with fierce intelligence and visits near strangers on their darkest anniversaries. The confession hung in the air between them, honest and unadorned. Singapore is still an incredible opportunity, she said. Carefully, it is. And the director position at Meridian is perfect for your career trajectory. Also, true, Prisha took a deep breath. So what happens now? We acknowledge feelings that developed under false pretenses, then go our separate ways like our grandparents did. Vikram's expression softened. Or we acknowledge that sometimes the most unexpected beginnings lead to the most authentic connections. He reached for her hand. I don't have an elegant solution, Prisha. Only the truth that I want to build something real with you, whether that's here in Singapore or somewhere else entirely. You would consider staying? Hope flickered tentatively. I would consider any option that includes you. He smiled. Engineers are trained to find structural solutions to seemingly impossible problems. Prisha laughed through her tears. And architects are taught to reimagine spaces for new purposes. She squeezed his hand. Maybe we don't need to choose between careers and connection. Maybe we design something new together. In the weeks that followed, they crafted a solution as carefully as they would a blueprint. Vikram negotiated a split position, 6 months in Singapore establishing the project, then returning to Meridian as structural director. Prisha applied for a special project with Meridian's international division, allowing her to temporarily relocate to Singapore during his assignment. When they finally told their families the complete truth about the borrowed name, the pretend relationship, and the real feelings that developed, Mrs. Kapoor's response surprised them both. Of course, I knew something was off at first, she admitted. No couple looks that nervous serving chai together. But by the time of your father's memorial dinner, when Vikram recited your father's favorite poem without being reminded, well, by then it wasn't pretend anymore, was it? On their last evening before departing for Singapore, they visited the West Ridge project, now completed and illuminated against the twilight sky. Standing before the building they had created together, Prisha reached for Vikram's hand. It's strange, she said. I borrowed your name that day thinking it would simplify my life for just a few hours. I never imagined it would completely transform it instead. Vikram smiled, entwining his fingers with hers. Perhaps that's the nature of signatures. They make things official, binding. He drew her closer. Some signatures change documents. Others change destinies. As they turned to leave, the building stood as a testament to what they had built together. A structure that began with separate visions but became something stronger and more beautiful through collaboration. Much like the relationship that had grown from a borrowed name into a shared future, written not in panic or pretense, but in the steady, deliberate strokes of genuine love.